What's up, folks? Welcome to the Crypto Report, Friday, 23rd, 2025, joined by our co-host, Josh. What's up, Josh?
How's it going? It's a good day to be a crypto bull, except maybe not the last few hours,
It's a great day overall,
of course.
but I don't want to steal your thunder, man. We've been talking about this for the last 6 months. We had a game plan. I want to give you the opportunity to kind of talk through the next steps, what we've accomplished so far, the next steps. What do we expect is going to happen? How do we want to position ourselves? You're the guy, the man with the plan. What do we do here? First off, congratulations, all-time high Bitcoin.
I mean, congratulations to everyone who's been trading crypto, right? Pretty big move. In TTI, we crushed the 70K breakout. We called it coming to 100. We rebought the 90s, rebought around 100. Some folks, including yourself, got levered long around that time, and here we are. We touched on nearly 112K, and looks like we're going to keep going. We're now 6 weeks straight of green candles, while much of the other markets are either chopping or red or dying slowly. So it's pretty nice to feel. It's vindicating to say.
I think the cool thing is that not only did we capture this from a spot standpoint, meaning we've been on top of the breakout, but we also caught it in the TradFi market as well. And I don't want to detour the conversation here, but for any of you out there listening that aren't actively engaged in the crypto market, meaning you don't want to go on load money onto an exchange and buy it, or you don't want to use Robinhood, whatever, you're not actively, you can trade this stuff using the equity markets. There's a bunch of assets that are listed that are highly correlated with Bitcoin. We got Robinhood, that's one of our favorites. I love to trade Robinhood. It moves very well, and Coinbase, right? And then we also have some actual spot ETFs like IBIT, and then we have some exposure in Ethereum as well through ETHA. But just to show you guys really quick, this stuff moves in tandem with each other. So if you're looking to get involved with Bitcoin, you want some exposure in the TradFi market, you want to trade options on it, whatever you want to do, you can find vehicles in the TradFi market to express that thesis. That's exactly what we've been able to do over the last couple of weeks. We have a position in IBIT. We have a position in Robinhood. There's some gunslingers out there like Josh, for example, with positions in Coinbase. But general idea here is Bitcoin breaks out, this stuff is also going to follow suit, and we expect this Bitcoin breakout to continue, right? Let's go ahead and talk through that really quick. What are the next steps here? What do you expect here with Bitcoin? I don't want to say tomorrow because who knows what happens. God bless anybody that tries to day trade this stuff. But what do we expect to happen reasonably over the next couple of weeks to months?
Yeah, I think the expectation at this point, and nice that we all have positions already, is that we're going to see that grind up, whether it's $10,000 candles or just kind of what we've been doing with a couple $1,000s a day, moving towards what you and I are targeting as a kind of the next key area of 144,000 to 150,000. There's going to be chop along the way. We're going to have red weeks, but very broadly, I think we both agree that we're going to see the kind of that expansion and move up and to the right within the charts, and then hopefully assets like Ethereum, like Solana, can also get back to their all-time highs. I know you mentioned Ethereum just before with the ETH calls we have on that spot ETF, as well as spot and leveraged exposure. And so for Ethereum, we're looking at reclaiming that $2,800 level, then 3,000. Then eventually pushing its way to 4,000 and all-time highs. And so over the next couple weeks, days, months, that's what we're watching for, to see this continuation of the trend, see us not get stuck and pulled back down to 100K. There will be pullbacks along the way. And given that, most folks at this point are positioned in those majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum, even Solana as an example, that looks like it's risk on today, above that 181 level, that you can let these positions ride. You don't need to overthink it and, take profit here and X here and try to get back in. Let these positions work, and then if you want to get more additional exposure, if you want to slide down that risk curve a little bit, you can come and join us in the trenches and trade some altcoins. Otherwise, like you said, there are plenty of options in equities markets to get additional exposure if that's what you're into.
Yeah, I think the big thing here, big takeaway is you are your own worst enemy. It's like what we've been talking about inside of TTI in general. Over the last 4 weeks, we've opened exposure in the market. We caught the CoreWeave move. We caught the AEVA move. There's a lot of trades that we got these 1,000% winners on right now. But there's, 10 to 15 names that we've been able to trade over the last 4 weeks that have gone up and over 100% into profit. And following our exit system, we like to close half at 100% to remove all risk. So now we're essentially left with a bunch of these core positions with no risk against our account. biggest risk here is you selling early or mismanaging this stuff based off of trivial either price movements or, at worst, anecdotal evidence coming through headlines, right? Bitcoin, the exact same thing. I'll tell you guys, from doing this for 15 years, you do not get a multi-year base that breaks out finally into an all-time high run and then consolidates for 6 months, and then we re-break out and then it stops. This is TA 101. Put an article out yesterday for the paid subscribers that this is like reading a Dr. Seuss book. If you're learning how to trade on a technical basis, you need to understand two key things. One, which direction is the primary trend going? And two, support and resistance. This looks like picture perfect uptrend, and to cut these trades earlier, or even worse, try to time the top, is going to be detrimental to your long-term performance. So as Josh eloquently put, I'm going to go ahead and take a stamp at 150. 150 is my price target here on the next oscillation higher. Do we stop there? Do we consolidate? I don't know, but 150 is kind of where I'm looking at as a reasonable goal here. Not necessarily within the secular cycle. I think we're going to go probably higher than 150, but I think the next real respite, the next real test is going to occur somewhere near 150. So let's go ahead, before we get into Ethereum, let's talk really quick about the total crypto market cap and then others. We've had 3 trillion is like our gauge. We want to be long the market above 3 trillion. We're back up and over 3 trillion. We're long the market. It's amazing. You set a plan, you execute it when it happens, and then we'll see how it works out. But as of right now, this looks great. What do we expect from a total crypto market cap standpoint? What's the price target? Do we expect it to continue higher? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we're back in that kind of what are we seeing here? November to February range above 3 trillion. Currently trading 3.39, and we're mid-range. So kind of my expectations is we're going to make a move to the top of the range, and then from there be able to hopefully break out, possibly consolidate, possibly pull back and chop a little longer. But I think your goals for total is about 4.5 trillion market cap. I think mine's a little higher at 6. This is what we just talked about, anecdotal evidence, but you have individuals in the White House saying that they believe stablecoins are going to take up $2 trillion of market cap in the next 3, 5, 10 years. They currently make up $220 billion across all of crypto. So if you have stablecoins taking up $2 trillion, with the market cap of the entire industry being 3.39, this market cap is going significantly higher to allow for that movement of stablecoins into the ecosystem. So, for that purpose, as well as number of, fib levels as an example, I would be personally targeting, about 6.5 trillion. So higher from here. Like you said, we're in a secular bull market. We're not just going to break that $3 trillion level from 2021 and go up 600 billion and call it a day.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Particularly with the amount of liquidity that is now in the market, you have to assume that as risk flows back in, which it is very obviously flowing back in post Liberation Day tariff stuff. Crypto is particularly like the furthest out on the risk spectrum, right? And so you would assume that liquidity is going to permeate through this area as risk comes back into the market. There's a lot of liquidity out there right now. So you have to assume, just like gold is blowing off right now and going to all-time highs, Bitcoin is going to follow. It's just its liquidity enters the asset class and pushes these asset prices higher. I know that you said you have a PT somewhere near 6 trillion. I would not fight that at all. If Bitcoin 150 is my next step up, I would say probably the next fib up is like 225 or something. I don't see that it's not out of the realm of what could happen over the next 12 to 24 months. These secular bull markets tend to last 1 to 3 years in the Bitcoin space. It's a lot fewer years than the TradFi market, but you have to assume that Bitcoin just moves faster, right? Bitcoin moves faster. It's like a video game. So yeah, the total crypto market cap could absolutely blow past my very conservative $4.5 trillion target up towards 6. I wouldn't even bat an eye. As a matter of fact, I would try to capture all of it. Let's move really quick to it. Go ahead.
I would just note that, with that assumption, let's say Bitcoin goes to 150, 200, its market cap is already well over 2 trillion. So if we're essentially, let's say, doubling Bitcoin's price, let's say 200, that's a $4 trillion asset. The total everything excluding Bitcoin, is currently 1.22. So right there, you have 5.2 trillion, assuming that nothing else in the crypto market moves at all, 0% from here, and only Bitcoin rips. So like I said, I would expect total to get to at least 2 trillion. that puts us at 6.5 roughly. That's with Bitcoin way up, and that's with significant underperformance by altcoins. So
let's talk about some
see what
altcoins really
happens.
quick. Ethereum, that's one that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. It's performing well. Our trade's performing well. What do we see here from an absolute standpoint? And then we'll go into the relative standpoint against Bitcoin. On an absolute, what do we see?
Yeah, we saw a bottoming back April 7th when the markets were kind of very turmoil. We chatted 2 weeks ago about that ETH BTC bottom, and we nailed it within, call it 12 hours, where we saw that massive, 40, 50% move over the course of a couple of days, which for the second biggest asset in this space is a pretty large sign for risk appetite. Right now, we're bullish consolidation. We're right below that 200 moving average on the daily. And so, ETH continues to bounce between essentially 2,500 and 2,700. I expect once we get that flip of the 200 day, we're going to be moving towards 3,000. And then from there, hopefully 4,000 and higher. So, like we said, in TTI, there's a lot of us who are long ETH off the lows or holding it from higher. But yeah, from an absolute standpoint, we have a very tight area of consolidation relative to the chart and watching for that to break out to one of the sides, preferably up.
Very rarely do I buy the bottom. It's just not my game. I like to capture the 80% in between, but I'll tell you something right now. I bought the fucking bottom in Ethereum. I nailed it. We nailed it. You're right. We nailed it within like 12 hours. I think next price target up, you flip the 200. You got to keep this like as simple as possible. Flip the 200-day moving average. Your next PT up's 4,000. Get up and over 4,000, we can start talking about all-time highs. But let's flip the 200 first and then get up to 4K. We're at the beginning of a bullish momentum regime. The RSI was higher than it has been for years. I like it. I think there's a lot of momentum here. And then I do want to go talk about the Ethereum BTC chart because this directly it was part of the reason why we decided to get long Ethereum when we did, and it worked for us because I do want to point out for those of you that maybe aren't in TTI and are listening to this for the first time, we bought ETHA options contracts literally 12 hours before they took off, and we are sitting in a free trade now going out to September at minimum, meaning we have a couple of months left with over 100% profit in this trade right now. We've taken all of our risk already out of it. So the goal here is if Ethereum continues to outperform Bitcoin, which it does, or it has at least in the past around these areas, we're now in a position where we're risking nothing but house money, but have an opportunity to make literally infinitely profitability, right? That we have call options that are risk-free right now, so we see how far this thing goes. But Josh, talk really quick about this particular chart and why it matters so much, why we like Ethereum here, not only on an absolute basis, but a relative basis.
Yeah, I mean, ETH BTC is, for those who are unaware or not really sure, it's the relative strength for the most part, but it's a trade pair between Ethereum and Bitcoin. It has been in a downtrend for years at this point. Every bounce, people have hoped, hey, there the ETH bottom is in. It's time for overperformance, but that hasn't been the case. The reason the ETH BTC chart is so important for a lot of people is because it's essentially a proxy for altcoins and altcoin season. Right now, we saw the chart come down all the way to the previous 2019 lows. So, we've been downtrending since August of 2022, nonstop, relentlessly. Bitcoin has moved from $15,000 to $112,000 in the same time period that Ethereum has moved from about $1,000 to $4,000. And so the reason we're entering here is we tap those 2019 lows, we consolidate for a short period of time, and then blast it off. So we are, from our perspective in TTI, looking at the bottom at that 0.0223, 229 range, and looking to take this higher. The reason it's important is because if we look back to 2019, after those lows, Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin for several years. It had its own bullish momentum regime. Back then it went up, I want to say 4,000 or 5,000% from the lows. And so those are the kind of moves we're looking to capture. Is ETH going up 4,000% from here? Probably not. But if it's going to outperform Bitcoin, we want to be holding ETH over Bitcoin because we are looking for the best relative strength in the market.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We're traders first. We're not Bitcoin fanboys, at least not all of us. I'm particularly not. I want to get paid in dollars as long as dollars pay my bills. And so the way I think about this type of stuff is if Bitcoin's breaking out, I want a piece of it. But do I want to put all of my capital that I'm putting into the crypto market into Bitcoin? Well, no. I want to find areas of relative strength. And like you just said, if you look back at 2019 through 2022 and you look at the run that Ethereum had, it moved from like 140 to 4,000 or something like that. No headlines really, because Bitcoin moved from like 7,000 or 6,000 to 60,000 or 65,000. And that sounds like a huge move, 6,000 to 65,000. And it is a big move, don't get me wrong. But 140 to 4.5 is a bigger move. As a matter of fact, I did the math on it. There's a thread on Twitter. But Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin over that time by 4.5 times the amount, meaning the opportunity cost of Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, was huge. If you owned Ethereum, you would have made it way more money. But Ethereum didn't get the headline. Bitcoin got the headline. So think about that from a trading standpoint. You are focused, or should be focused, on the biggest winner, not just a winner, the biggest winner. The last time Ethereum was down here, outperformed Bitcoin over the course of 2 or 3 years by 4.5 times, which is why we're willing to hold Ethereum here, even if the chart itself doesn't look as great as Bitcoin. But like I said, we've already de-risked the position, so I'm not particularly worried about it. Which direction you want to take this? You want to talk Solana here, or which other major alt do you want to talk through?
Let's flip to Solana, and specifically the conversation of Solana and Ethereum. So let's go look at the Sol ETH chart. Solana has had an incredible last 2 years. Went up from $6 to, at the peak, essentially $300 in the new all-time highs. 2,000% run. Incredible if you captured it, or if you captured any percent of that move. I know, Hamilton, that was one of your biggest winners.
It was my biggest winner. Yeah, Solana was my biggest winner, at least in the crypto market.
Absolutely. And, while Ethereum underperformed largely the entire market, Solana overperformed. Right now, we're at a point where the Sol ETH fractal, while, just below previous all-time highs, we're seeing these massive swings in price action when it comes to this pair. And currently, we're above the previous all-time, or sorry, we're above the highs from 2022 in the previous cycle, but we're trying to watch as to see what happens. We're just above the 200 MA right now, and trying to see if the Sol ETH pair is going to move towards that 0.054 level to kind of etch out which major folks should be trading, whether that's Ethereum or Bitcoin, or both for many. But for those who are only allocating to certain sections, which one makes the most sense?
This is great. I think this is telling you one story. Market bottomed in the middle of 2023, and since then, Solana has outperformed Ethereum. It's just that simple. That's it. Just a relative strength. I mean, you want to own the strongest asset. Solana, at least as of right now, outperforming Ethereum over the last 2.5 years. Is that going to continue? We'll see. But trends are up. Riding the 200-day moving average, it's hard to say that that's going to be over. Are there any trades we want to talk through? Are there any specific charts you want to bring up? Is there something that piques your interest here you want to share with us?
I mean, there's a few. I mean, first we can just talk Solana. I think we chatted about this before, and it is now above the 200-day, and that's kind of the area we were interested in if we weren't buying that 100 to 120 range. So, Solana is actually an opportunity to buy here. It's now peaking above that 2024 range that it held so perfectly that we talked to for weeks on end. And so, you have the opportunity here for a potential Solana long in this 182 range, maybe up towards 190. With stops below the 200-day, or even potentially using the previous kind of consolidation fractal at like 166, 167 area to stop out. So, that's a potential option for people who don't want to take as high of a risk in a higher volatility asset like some of the altcoins that we trade.
Question for you really quick.
Yeah.
The recent legislation where I think Kraken is going to allow international traders to access U.S. domestic TradFi markets, trading Apple and Tesla, etc., on through their crypto exchange. They're using Solana as the token to facilitate that, or no?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into which blockchain they're using. I wouldn't be surprised. I know that is the goal of Solana, to facilitate global tokenized assets, and I know Kraken is doing it, but Bybit as well, and a handful of other exchanges.
If that happens, the whole point of me saying that, if that happens, there's just going to be a lot more demand for Solana. So that would be kind of the supporting evidence here for why price might be outperforming Ethereum at this point, which is good. That's what you want.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can look at volume, you can look at new apps. Solana has right now the lion's share of, new applications, new projects, projects are either switching from Ethereum or other chains to Solana, or they're being built there. So it's an ecosystem that is thriving regardless of price action. And it has been for several years now. And so I think that's probably also playing, if you want to talk fundamentals, which we don't, but that is likely also a role in that demand for Solana and where the influx of capital is going.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I like the idea here, getting long above the 200-day moving average and throwing a stop somewhere below oscillation low at like 160, 165, something that breaks back down below here, don't take it. But if we're up and over the 200-day moving average, I was expecting to see more volume here, but the VRVP does not confirm that. Yeah, I like this. Why not? I mean, it's a relatively high R to R play. It's not necessarily going to knock your socks off until we're above 260, but that's a 4-to-1 setup there. That's a setup that we would take inside of TTI every single day. So there's a supporting narrative behind it. Solana above the 200 with the stop below 160, 165, something like that. Price target all-time highs. You break above all-time highs. I was the goofball, by the way. I bought the all-time high breakout. But before anybody makes fun of me, buying all-time high breakouts generally is a pretty good idea. This time it didn't work for me. But if we break above kind of that 265-ish area, I would expect next PT up is going to be 400. So if we're able to get a foothold, even if we don't fully position in here above the 200-day moving average, getting a foothold in here and then adding in above the all-time high breakout if it occurs makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's something that we're probably going to look at inside of TTI today officially. So I like that. Give me one more.
Okay. Do you want to go higher volatility, big mover, or do you want to go something a little little more sane?
Bitcoin just broke out to all-time highs. Give me the shit. Give me the shittiest shit you got now. Let's talk through it.
I mean, I'm not even throwing shit. Let's pull up Popcat. One of the most popular memes in crypto. It's listed on essentially every exchange. Folks on Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, wherever you are, you can trade this. We alerted this to folks in TTI at 30 cent on the horizontal level break. At that 30 cent area where we saw some previous consolidation, but flagging it again. One of the Billy in TTI, shout out Billy, pointed out that there's kind of another level here, and it looks like a cup and handle. So that's one of my favorite trade setups from chart patterns, and Popcat has been overperforming a lot of assets. And like we talked at length today and the past weeks, in TTI, we want to own relative strength. So we want to own assets that have been performing really well over the last 3 months, and specifically since April 7th lows. Popcat is one of those names, similar to, Fartcoin, which we've talked about, Mog, other names like that in the meme space. But so we're looking to get long Popcat. Ideally, people are probably going to wait until above the 200-day moving average. So, call it above 61, 62 cents. But you have the opportunity to enter here around 55 cents and see what happens.
I'll be the first to tell you that we've traded this chart a million times in TTI and the TradFi market. You get these IPOs that undercut the IPO price, build a base and start to break back up, draw a line right from the IPO price across, buy above it. We bought Uber this way. We bought CrowdStrike this way. Both of them did the exact same. This is a very obvious technical pattern, folks. I would not wait for above the 200-day moving average. I would take this above the range high, somewhere near 5.5, 5.6, 55 cents, 56 cents. Price targets up, 85, 129, 175. Just follow it up into all-time highs. You have a bullish momentum regime starting. You have a beautiful base. I know that there was a call out here to buy above this particular breakout, which is why I showed that. So you guys already have a head start here. But for the rest of us, like me, for example, who don't have any exposure, I will be buying this, above 56, 57 cents, and we're right there. So we'll see end of day if I start the position here. But price targets up. Once again, just follow the fibs up. It's a very, very, very simple pattern, folks. And with the bullish momentum coming in here and pushing this higher, I like it. I'm going to throw capital at it. Yeah, I like this trade. And you're right, it's not complete trash. I mean, this is a solid setup with liquidity. Probably won't go to zero overnight. So yeah, like it. I'm in.
Sounds great. I think one of the other setups we're seeing a lot of, we don't have to talk about it today or look at them, but there's a lot of new projects that have launched in the last, let's call it 6 months, and are all showing that same IPO. I call it ICO for the crypto spin, but that IPO
You're
range
right.
breakout where we see the launch, and we have some form of price action, whether we go up for a bit and then we come down from sellers stepping in. We range along the bottoms, have a rounded bottom. We break back to that previous kind of launch price, and then we break into all-time highs. So I know that's something that we're going to be covering a lot of in TTI in the coming days, because a lot of those trades are setting up. A couple examples of those are Kaido and Grass, SXT, And so there's definitely an opportunity for the trade style you like to use, whether that's rounded bottom breakouts, cup and handles. If you like just, jumping into coins, re-entering previous 2024 ranges and take the range high, or these, big blue sky breakouts or IPO range breakouts. There's something in crypto for everyone right now because everything's moving.
I love it. Josh, thank you so much. For those of you inside the TTI, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them as a comment below on the market research portal. Josh and I will get back to you. This PopCat trait will go out. Solana will probably go out as well today. These are incredible opportunities for us. We're going to continue to push risk into the crypto market because we're going to play the playbook as we wrote it up. Above 3 trillion is risk on in total crypto market cap. We have exposure in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Both of them are working. It's time to make our money work for us. Josh, thank you so much. And congratulations, by the way, on the new camper on the truck. I hope you and your fiance have a great time.
Of course. Thank you. It's paid for by crypto and business.
There you go. We'll catch you next Friday, folks. Enjoy the rest of your long weekend if you're in the United States. And if you're not, remember, markets are closed Monday, but crypto never sleeps. Talk to you guys next Friday. See ya.